So there has been this discussion going on in the high ticket space for a couple of years now, actually, and that is pretty much whether should you set an agenda or not at the beginning of a sales call, either B2B or either B2C, right? Whether should you or should you not? There's one group of people who never set an agenda, then there's another group of people who always set an agenda, and I just wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on it based on my experience of going from somebody who didn't used to set an agenda to setting agenda in a very specific advanced way, which by the way, nobody teaches out there except a handful of one or two people. And yeah, for me to give a breakdown on that. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anas Hassan. I've been in the Heineken space for about 4 years now. I've done over $2 million in cash collect for business owners working either over the phone and Zoom in multiple different spaces. Now, in order for us to go deep with this topic, right, we need to first understand the core foundation and the fundamentals. Why do we set agenda in the first place, right? What's the point of that? And the reason why we set agenda is pretty basic, and that is to have a frame for the call. Now, on a basic level, pretty much what this means is agenda setting is useful for keeping control of the question asking phase of the calls. So typically the way agenda would be set up, on a very basic level, and I'm sure you would have heard of it already. If not, it is, hey, Mr. Prospect, so really what I like to do is ask questions first from you to understand more about your situation, where you at, what you need, what you're looking for. Only then when I have a complete picture, I'll be able to tell you exactly how we can help you. And when I describe it to you and you like what we have, we can get the ball rolling today. Sounds fair to you? Yeah, they're like, sounds fair enough. Great. That's a very basic agenda. And the whole point is that so later when they show resistance and bring up concerns like questions such as, hey, by the way, what's the price? Or like, how does this work? You can always fall back on the agenda. And that's the point, right? Falling back on agenda. Super powerful. Super powerful. This concept then now gets magnified when it comes to advanced level. So on an advanced level, compared to basic agenda setting, which is, by the way, almost no one talks about, and this is something I learned from my mentor, Dylan Starr. The guy is absolute beast. Got paid like 120 grand plus or something to come in and build a team for an influencer, like crazy cool stuff. And so he talks about this, and the whole point of advanced level agenda setting is so that you can have a consistent leverage across different offers. Okay, now why is that? The ones who say that they don't need to set an agenda and still can get the job done are typically the ones, or almost always the ones, who are on an offer where the business owner is already setting their agenda in the pre-call process for them in a very strongly manner. I used to be one of those people where prospect had to watch like a 45 minutes to like maybe an hour long of content before they could jump on a call. And when they had done that, they would be quite a lot aligned with what we had going on. And the agenda was set by the end of the video with them. And so you think about that and you realize though not every offer is going to be the same. Some offers will not have a pre-call video at all. Some offers would have. And obviously, you want the business owner, if you are educated enough about how the space works, is for them to install all those things. But let's say you're coming in and they're not doing it right from the get-go, and they got all these closers that are doing fairly fine or okay, and they need you to come in and take some calls, bring some sales, and then you can like earn your place to start putting feedback in potentially. The point I'm trying to make is every offer is going to be different. So when every offer is different, for you to bring that consistent performance across different platforms, different offers, you need to have a pattern of setting your own agenda at the beginning of these calls to set the right expectation and tone for the call. All right. With that being said, all all of this, like I said, consistent leverage, what this is translating into is qualifying and blocking the objections, qualifying your prospects and blocking the objections in these early phases of the process. So let's talk about it further, right? So we talked about that there are two types of these agenda setting. One is the basic, which everybody talks about, typically like 20-second long, and then the advanced, which is about 2 minutes long. So quite a big difference, but I can assure you the effect is there. And I've seen it happen every time I did. So basic one is what everybody teaches, but today I want to focus on the advanced level. All right. And there are four key components for it: story, the aha or wait a second moment, urgency and scarcity, which is more so optional, and then finally qualifiers, right? So let's get into it. So number one, story and background. The reason we do this is to be able to hook people in to draw the attention towards us, just like any great marketer would do. At the end of the day, everybody's doing the same old stale, agenda setting at the beginning of their calls. And honestly, humans love stories. I mean, that's a fact since the dawn of human time. So if you can find a way to hook people in with that, bring their attention in, now you just stood yourself out completely from the get-go. And this also helps you to gain the authority status as well in the process. And I'll tell exactly how. So like we talked about, right? The whole point of of the advanced agenda setting is to be able to block up objections and qualify people. Right now, we're talking about the objections blocking part. So, an objection like which could come up on these calls, that is, hey, how are you different than the other people, other agencies out there? Let's say if it's a B2B marketing offer, right? So the way I would do it, and the way I've done it on an offer as well, is I would be like, "Hey man, is it cool if I give you a bit of context first, like what we got going on over here?" Yeah, please do. Great, let me share my screen. Boom, I would pull up the website of the company, right? And they would have everything written in bold. Well, cool, can you see my screen? Yes, I can. Great. So look, in a nutshell, man, as you can see, we've been in this business for about 5 years now. We've helped over 1,300 businesses so far to generate $100 million online while them having to spend only $20 million in ad spend. So if you do an average there over the board, that is 5x ROAS of what we've been able to get people achieve. And the reason we've been able to do this, and then I'll scroll around and show them more stuff, is unlike other agencies out there, we are top rated preferred partners with Facebook, with Google, with TikTok. Meaning if somebody goes and runs an ad through us, the chances of them getting approved and doing well are tremendously higher. Pause. This is my background and story. So what? So not the whole. Yeah, this is the background and story, right? So what I just did here is I set the tone that hey, we're the professionals. We've been in this space for long enough. We know what we're doing, and the reason why we have done this kind of result is because we're different than others, and here's why. What did I just did there? I literally blocked your objections of the basic stuff later on, being like, oh, I don't even know like how you guys are different than the others. I got to go back and check that out, blah, 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 yada, 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 right? Compare stuff. You literally answered their question in the beginning. This is what objection handling is. You bring stuff up through the beginning of the process. So by the end, they're left with nothing but to be honest with you of what's really stopping them, right? This is a smaller example, but this is a good example to give. So this is what I've been installing initially. But the whole thing I've done here is I build myself as an authority who knows his shit, and we help people and why we're different, blocking some objections right there. Now, next phase, the wait a second aha moment. My mentor calls it the epiphany. I believe that's the word he uses for it. And pretty much this is like eureka moment that we as a business got, and that's why we're doing the way we're doing it. So it is us selling them on the model here of how we do what we do, right? You don't want to typically sell them. I would actually remove the sell word. I would say you're pretty much reinforcing them on what they've already seen, and ideally reinforcing the vehicle and the model you have. So what I mean here is this, right? Is I will just give you an example, two of them for a B2B and B2C. For a B2B, I'll continue with the rant that I was making. But we were, and this is how I'll continue for the rest, right? Cool. So this is what we've been able to do, and this is why. But of course, we didn't get here overnight. In the beginning, we used to just run ads for people. But what we quickly found out while just running ads is there were all these nuances to why people weren't getting results, right? Like what would happen is we would go and set up an ad, but let's say if the landing page was off or the email copy wasn't working, or even worse, like the team we had to rely on for the business owner video editing, like that wasn't done correctly, like it would literally affect every part of the process. Like most people think it's just about the ad you set up and you're good, but it's not. And we realized that, and we were like, wait a second. If not only we have control on how the ad comes out, but we also have control on the videos they're watching, the landing page content they're consuming, the emails they're getting. Now we know the magic can happen because everything in sync together, right? And throughout this whole process, the prospect is just like, yes, that makes sense. Oh yeah, oh yeah, of course. you know? So what I just did there, I just prepped them and reinforced our model of not just running ads, but having a full 360-degree solution. If let's say we're doing funnels, we're doing ads, we're doing email marketing, I can easily now sell this later. And later they're not going to be like, oh, but my funnel is not set up yet, or my this or my that is not good yet. I don't know if I can run ads right away because I literally blocked the objection here. Does that make sense? Is this coming together for you guys? Let me know, right, in the comments, any feedback or any. So, but point is, throughout all these points here, here, and here, like throughout this whole process, really what we're just doing is we're blocking all these objections. That's the point of the advanced objection handling, advanced agenda setting process. So that is there. Now let's talk about an example of B2C, right? My story I was giving was for an influencer named Frank I was selling for. So I was like, hey man, so Frank has been in the space for about 5 years now, have done over $20 million or $10 million in cash collect through DM setting, right? But and in the beginning, we used to like have all his friends and family come over and be like, "Hey, man, can you also teach us how you're doing this?" This was like back in 2020, and he would be like, "Okay, let me coach you guys and walk you through this." But what he quickly found out that even though he was coaching them on the skills, but the problem all those people were facing is when they would go out and try to find an opportunity, they had a very difficult time landing one because nobody would hire them because they were so new into the space, right? They didn't have the experience to show for, and they were competing with all these other individuals out there. So Frank realized that, and he was like, "Wait a second! If not only I teach these people how to get the skill, how to be able to become, how to be a effective setter, but also give them a guaranteed job placement as their first gig. Now we just loop the problem there, right? Now we just pretty much, fill the gap in with that problem, and now they can get results. And so since making that switch, we pretty much crushed it. Last 5 months, we've been having a 100% success rate, and the way we define success rate is somebody getting placed, start making money, at least 3 grand a month, right? And so that is there. Stop. So I just gave my story there, a bit of it. I gave my wait a second moment. So now what I just did, I prepped them. I reinforced the idea of why the model we have and why this works the way and not the other way around. There's no other way it can work or very hardly except our way. That is there. So the next step is urgency and scarcity. The biggest leverage I've found it gives is to be able to collect more deposits at the end of the call, right? What I mean by that is the way I would go about is in the agenda setting it. But at the end of the day, man, of course, we can only help so many people because the time of the influencer and the team we have is limited. So that's why we only have cap on deciding on taking 10 people every month. Right now, we're about 7. Right before the call, I checked, for example, right, or so. And yeah, at the end of the call, so at the end of the call, if everything makes sense, blah blah blah. Like that line that I just said there, that we only have so many spots, so we're looking for first come first serve basis people, right? That just gave me the card there to later on when they are like, hey, it's just the money. I'm ready to sign up. I just need some time to come up with that. I can be like, cool, man. But like I said at the beginning of the call, that we have so many, we only have so many spots. I really want to help you out, and and like we talked about, this can be a banger. Let's do this, right? Let's put out a deposit of $200. Let's lock you in, and then let's chat back in 2 weeks, right, and get you started. Now, the next stage we have here is qualifiers. So qualifiers has a specific area in the agenda setting process, which is the last step pretty much. But technically it happens throughout the whole agenda setting. When you're talking about your wait a second aha moment, when you tell them, for example, in my case with the B2B marketing offer, that we don't just run ads, but you also need control on all the other processes. So it's not a blame game at the end of the day with different parties. If they're okay with that, great. If not, they will tell you and boom, you disqualify them, right? If that's like a non-negotiable. And that's the point. Every offer must have non-negotiables. If you're an offer where it's about bringing anybody in, you'll get results for them, that's just not how real world works. So I'll be honest with you. If you're an influencer or you as a business owner or you're doing this, don't. Like you're just gonna ruin your business reputation, right? It's not a good idea. It's better to be dialed in, and I can do a whole video on it why that's a good why that is necessary. But having non-negotiables in a closing environment gives you a lot of leverage. Super important. Ideally, 1 to 3 is good. I'll give you an idea of this on a B2B call, like the marketing offer. I would be like, but of course, man, we cannot help everyone. The biggest thing for us really are the following. Number one, making sure we're only working with somebody who has a proven offer that's already selling and bringing cash in. Because at the end of the day, we can't turn water into wine, right? Not the best place to start paid ads if you're just starting out. Number two, you respect the ramp period that we have. What I mean by that is typically we've found it takes about 30 days for us to build a foundation. And then by the end of 90 days, that is when the ROAS is making sense to a business owner coming in. So if somebody's looking for a breakthrough in the first few weeks, it's just not going to work together, right? It's at least a 90 days commitment. So what did I just did there? I talked about the time commitment. I talked about my other qualifiers, such as this is at least how much you got to be, bringing in the sales or having a proven offer to be able to for us to work together. If any of that doesn't match, they just tell me, and I just bloody saved my time, right? Again, having non-negotiables is just going to make your life easy. Another example would be in a B2C offer that, hey, we at least need somebody to have 4 hours a day set aside to work as a DM setter or focus on building their online business, at least. If not, this is not going to work upfront. Pretty straightforward, right? Because think about it, guys. You only want to bring somebody in who would actually get results. And if they don't align with these things and they're not fine with it in the beginning, guess what's going to happen when they realize it later? They're still not going to be fine with it, right? So you just better disqualify them right now and be done with the headache. But hey, if they're fine with it and later on, for any reason they show resistance, you can always fall back on your agenda. But hey, I mean, I hear what you're saying. You got a job and you're working at long hours, but just like we agreed on earlier, though, man, I mean, you said you can commit the 4 hours if you need to, right? So you're like fine with it when I told you that, yeah, that's 4 hours a day we need from our clients. So, I mean, what's really going on for you? Like, what's coming up for you that's making you not do this? But anyways, not objection handling is what we're doing here for today's focus is really this. So that is there. Hope this all makes sense. Now, keep in mind, like I said, with qualifiers, you're pretty much doing it throughout the process, but having a set area like this in the agenda side as well just makes it even more powerful. And finally, which is again optional, leveraging the questionnaire. I absolutely love it because I've started testing this out, works very well to where by the end of the agenda, I'm like, cool. So those are just some of the basics, but I was looking at your application. I looked at your website. So yeah, I mean, really would like to understand your situation better to be so that I have confidence that we can help you. And if that part feels good, I'll break down the process to you. And if you feel good about it as well, guess what? Like you mentioned in the application, we'll get you started today on the call. Sounds fair? Sounds fair. Cool. now, now what just happened there? Supposing in the questionnaire they said, let me actually pull up the exact question. So right now I'm just reading the exact question in the application, right? That I have for one of the offers, and that it says we only work with action takers. So if we decide it's a good fit on the call, will you be comfortable getting on board over the phone? And he has two options that either yes, I want to take action, or two, no, I'm not ready yet, whatever. This guy selected yes, I want to take action. So guess what? I just repeated that at the end of the call, make sure he's confirmed on that. And if he says yes, great. Now you have so much leverage by the end of the call. If you're like, but I gotta look into this, I gotta look into that, but like, yeah, not. I hear what you're saying, man. But at the beginning of the call, you did agree and you did said yes. Like at the end, if everything makes sense, we can get the ball rolling. So really, I mean, well, what's really coming up for you, man? That's making you feel this way. Like that's making you need some more time on this, just to see if I can help, right? Falling back on agenda, man, because there's something called commitment and consistency, right? Commitment and consistency. And what this means is if somebody says something, they want to align with it for later on. So if somebody said one thing, they want to make sure they stay aligned with it. And when on a sales call, you call out on people, obviously you don't want to give them the impression that, hey, you're a bloody liar. You lied, you said something earlier, now you're telling me this, you're a liar. But more so, hey man, I mean, but there seems to be some gap because earlier you said this, but now you're telling me this. Well, what's really going on, man? Like, what's coming up for you? Like just be empathetic about it. But this is it. So let's put all of these things together, right? And final, but before I do that, like, and I giving specific examples on both B2B and B2C, let's talk about the bottom line. The bottom line is advanced agenda setting. It's not a one-time process, but a continuum. As you are on an offer, you'll start taking more and more calls. You'll come across common objections, right? And you want to start addressing them in the agenda setting process. Whatever those are, you can literally block a huge set of objections in throughout this process. So hope this helped. With that being said, let's talk about B2C BizOp example. I'll just go through a rant. So cool, man. Is it cool if I give you a bit of context what we got going on over here? Great. So just to give you clarity, pretty much Frank, I'm not sure if you know this already, but he's been in this space for about 5 years now, have done over $10 million in cash collect at this point. And the reason he's been able to do this and is because obviously appointed setting. Okay, so here's the rant begin. All right, so here's the rant with the B2C BizOp. Cool. So, man, is it cool if I give you a bit of context, like what we got going on over here? Yeah, please. Great. So it's pretty straightforward. Frank has been in this space for about 5 years now. He's done over $10 million in cash collect at this point as a DM setter. And in the beginning, back in 2020, I'm talking like in around January or so, he had like his friends and family coming over and be like, "Hey man, can you also teach us like how you're doing and how we can do as well?" And he started like coaching them and giving them skill sets. But what he quickly found out that there were all these like there was this big nuance to why they weren't getting results. This big problem, right? They were having, and that what it was is they would go learn the skill, but the fact they were new in the space, they were having a very difficult time landing their first opportunity as a DM setter, right? Because nobody would hire them because they were competing with other people. So Frank realized that, then he was like, wait a second, if not only I have control on coaching these people, if not only I coach these people and give them the skill sets they need, but also give them a guaranteed placement from my network of pool of business owners that I know and I've built over the years. Now I know the magic can happen, right? So since making that switch about 6 months back, he pretty much crushed it. At the moment, we have a 100% success rate because of that. And the way we define success rate is somebody at least making $2,500 a month with us by the end of 3 months working together, right? So we're doing pretty well. But as you can imagine, obviously we take our success rate very seriously. And because of that, we only take certain amount of people per month coming in, right? To give them the attention and the support they need. Like about 20 per month to be more specific. And the other thing is that of course we cannot help everyone, man. Biggest thing for us is we're looking for people who are coachable. When I say coachable, they're open to actually, take our advice and implement it rather than being like, hey, I know it already all. And the other thing we're looking for is people who can commit the time, at least 4 hours a day into this once they land an opportunity. And for an hour a day in the beginning to learn the skill. If they cannot, like, not a good fit right away, we can just save each other's time, right? But those are just some basics, man. Of course, we'd love to learn more about your situation specifically, see where you're at, what you've done, what you want to, like, where you want to take this all. And hey, if I feel confident we can help you out, I'll give you a breakdown on how this would work. And if you feel good about it as well, we'll, like you mentioned in the application, we can get you started today on the call. Sounds good? Boom. B2C BizOp right there, And with B2B, I do the whole rant, the same one that I did earlier, executed the same way like I did with B2C and pretty much done with it. But that's it for today, guys. I hope this all made sense. Again, my name is Anas Hassan. For those of you who don't know me, been in the space for about 4 years now, have done over $2 million in cash collect over the phone and over the Zoom. And yeah, I'm just making these videos because honestly, I have a lot of time on my hand besides taking sales calls, and I was like, let's put some some knowledge out there in the world to help some people out. Um, but yeah, this is it for now. Any feedback, please drop in the chat, and um, looking forward hearing back on it. See you guys next time.